Spouts are a little bottle.
Yep, a little bottle. So this would be a little bottle off the hump. And it'll turn into a spout. The spouts, you definitely want to throw several. So give yourself like, say 3. Do 2 lids and 3 spouts for every
Sorry.
teapot.
Sorry. Where's my thing?
And usually it takes a little time. So for the, in that toolkit, there's the regular metal knife, fettling knife. Yep.
Scary pictures?
That was Tori.
So this is a key tool for spout making for me. Your fettling knife. That goes inside the spout. I showed Glad spouts once. So, diving down. So it's like throwing a little mini cylinder, right? Nice thing about throwing off the hump is I can decide how far down to go. Kind of at any point in the process on the spout because there's no floor. So you're going to cut the thing off without the floor at all. So if you feel like it's too small or something, you can kind of dig down at the midpoint. But let's go with this. Lots of different proportions.
you're
spouts, right? So you're going to have to kind of
Can you finish it?
figure that part out. In this out a little bit. So a little comb. And now I'm gonna stretch out to the bottom. So my finger is coming towards you guys. That was this finger. So you make a little.
Did you call her in already?
No, I haven't really collared it in because I started with the narrow cone and I just pushed the bottom out. And so try to keep it to be a cone. And so now I can pull up the wall. I got a little, I don't think it's an air bubble, it's like a little chunk of hard clay or something right there. If it's a problem, I'll dig it out. It's a little cone. And then to get that narrow neck, you want to collar pull. So I just did a pull, right? So here's the collar. And I'm not going to overdo it because I still want to get my finger in there. But you want to really, towards the end there, make sure you have a good amount of push on it because that's what brings it up and in. So now I can still get my finger in there. Plenty of water. I use a ton of water on spouts. Yeah, you don't have to worry about any of that. There's no bottom. And so now I'm going down as far as my finger will go, which is right there. I'm pushing it out. So I want a wide connection. Now I'm pulling. And I don't want that top to be too thick. So usually I leave nice thick top so I can do stuff. The spout, you don't want it to be too thick because the clay or the tea will just dribble out of a thick spout lip. And also, you want that clay to come up. So now I can collar it. If the collaring starts to ripple, you guys had that?
Yes.
You need to stop the collaring when that happens and get in there and do a pull. Straighten it all out by having a finger on each side. Yeah, so if you're getting rippling when you're collaring, you're overdoing it. You're doing it overzealous on your collaring. So it's little by little. There's no shame in collaring 10 times, or whatever it takes. And so now I'm ready to go to the kind of final shape. Sometimes, like at this point, the top is real off-center because you don't know all this collaring and stuff. Sometimes that could be to your advantage on a teapot. That could be the shape of the spout. You could, the high point becomes the wide point of your teapot, or whatever. I never worry about it until I put it on the teapot. But what I am thinking about is the overall shape and proportions, and that's why it's good to throw many because you're not going to necessarily nail it. So I'm going to think about that. Okay, so there's my. I personally like my spouts to be really wide, pretty wide at the connection point, as opposed to like a little tube. But there's all kinds of different spouts that work. So here's where this knife comes in. You don't want any throwing lines on the inside of the neck of your spout because the tea will actually hit those they'll dry. And so if you can get a knife in here, probably keep my hand here, and just clean up the inside of the spout.
You're only worrying about, you can't reach the whole
You
thing.
can't reach the whole thing. The other part's not as important because this is where the tea is funneled into. This is its final
Exit.
avenue, exit, yeah. And so, you know, it probably doesn't have to be perfect, but you don't want it to be. And, you know, I could probably leave it as is and finish it up later. I might, just since I'm here, take this tool and play around a little bit. Ooh, I don't like that. That's not a good thing.
Do you cut it off flat or at an angle?
You mean the bottom?
Yeah.
Flat. And then at an angle later.
Okay.
Yeah. And so, you know what I didn't do very good is have a board. So you grab that board. I'm a mess today. So one thing that I sometimes like is these type of throwing ridges and lines that show up on spouts. I think they have a nice kind of fluidity to them. And so I generally try to leave that slip on there or kind of play with it a little bit. So all that stuff, it just kind of softens the surface a little bit, may or may not show up in the final process. So let's keep it at that. And then to cut it off, I go a little bit lower than, you know, the fat point there that I made. It's not here. Oh, that's so cute. So, you know, it doesn't matter if it wobbles all around because I'm going to alter that shape anyway. And so that's step one. It's just to throw this, it's like a funnel, right? You're throwing a funnel. And then on Monday, we'll take that when it's soft leather hard, and I'm gonna cut it at an angle, shape it to the teapot, and figure out that. But what I should really do is throw maybe 3. Try to make one a little bit taller. I tend to like longer spouts. And if you have a longer spout, you have more to work with. You can always cut it down. And you always want to make sure your spout is above the top of your teapot, right?
Mm-hmm. Where the fluid level is.
Yeah, if you have a short spout, if you have a really short spout, you have to put that spout really up high on the teapot body. And then to pour the tea, it's like, you gotta get the tea all the way up to the top, and it's likely to come out of the lid, you know, or it's just awkward. So longer spouts give you more to play with. So I'm gonna throw another one and try to make it longer. And so